Hi, this is Scott Marker with another episode of Treasure Valley NA Quick Tips. What this is a franchise order of a network and action franchise out of Houston, Texas. And through that, I have three groups of local business professionals who are super knowledgeable in their fields. And through that, I meet some people that I want to bring on the show and share their expertise here in the Treasure Valley and beyond. So today is a perfect example. Mike, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike McClure. I'm a partner with Murray Zillan Johnston. We have offices located in Idaho Falls, here in Meridian, and also in South Jordan, Utah.
Awesome. And also want to remind the listeners that if they didn't catch your first episode, to go back and check your first episode, that it really lays out, you got to talk to someone like you in person to get it specifically for them. It gives really a roadmap on some things you need to get in place, either when you're starting a business or maybe a partnership that if you do it earlier, somewhat with someone like you, then later, it's a lot less expensive. So
That's
perfect.
right.
So, yeah. So, hey, so I mean, why did you become an attorney? Did you wake up one day and think, I want to be an attorney?
Well, almost.
Wow.
It was one of those things where growing up, people talk about, professions and stability, and I just was always interested with the law. The types of shows I would always watch, all dealt with the law, like Law and Order.
Oh,
Even watching some of the old school shows with my dad, like Matlock and Perry Mason. It just always kind of intrigued me, and but even then, I never really put much thought to it. But Yeah, just to kind of get a little personal, like my dad, a very smart guy, um, but extremely trusting, and didn't always do things to protect his best interests. And so growing up, a lot of times I just saw him have to walk away from, very lucrative deals, because he didn't take the steps to protect himself. And so yeah, he got hosed a few times. And so just from that perspective, I always just had it in my mind that I wanted to help people, wanted to help kind of explain things to them so that they understood the benefits of taking care of themselves. And but even then, I almost went into law enforcement. Um,
oh,
and and so you know, just going through school, just trying to figure out if law enforcement was really what I wanted to do. Kind of tabled that for a little bit, and I worked at a university in their admissions department, and I was meeting with students, talking to them about what they want to do with their future, and one day I just woke up feeling a little hypocritical that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, and so I just started thinking about it more, and I decided law school was it. And
wow.
so
Good for
yeah.
you. Wow, that's awesome. No, that's great. You can kind of like, because most people, including myself, you go through college and you don't know, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So so how's that shaped you as an attorney?
So I think about how I kind of operate with my clients, right? Um, I really loved the educational setting. Went to a school for a lot of years, but more than anything, I just like to educate. And so, like when I meet with my clients, it's not just a matter of like, okay, you want to do A, and you want to get to point B, and so okay, I can do that for you. Like I take it a step farther, and I just say, okay, let me explain how I'm going to get you there, and why I'm doing this as opposed to this other potential option. Um, I really look at it from the standpoint of, this is your life, like this is your baby. You're creating a business here, and you're wanting to see it grow. Like I can help with that process, but at the end of the day, like this is for you. So I want to educate you on this process, what it looks like, what I can do for you. And at the end of the day, though, I want you to feel comfortable with the decisions, right? So, you know, when I meet with people, my consultations typically take a little bit longer than usual. But I just want to make sure that, you know, we cover the bases, because, you know, it's more of like, yes, I can do stuff for you, but I want you to kind of understand the X's and O's behind it.
No, I love that because, you know, certain, you know, like going to a doctor's office sometime or something like that, you never want to be rushed. You know, you're thinking, hey, I'm here to talk to the doctor about a problem, and I don't want to feel like I'm rushed. And there's other types of things too, but no, that's great that you kind of education because, you know, someone's coming to you, they are putting a lot of trust in you, and you know, you explaining kind of in detail, kind of why you're doing what you're doing, super important for the business owner, rather than just say, do what I do, you know, not really know why you're doing it. So
Right.
that's awesome. So how does that play into like what type of work you do?
So, I mean, I would just have to say that, you know, I do a broad spectrum, right? I mean, I talked about like my dad's experiences. And so I do focus a lot on business, do a lot with real estate. Um, but, you know, so to me, it's just the setting that I can, if I'm involved early in the process, then my mindset is, hey, we can avoid litigation, right? I mean, I've done litigation, I do litigation. It's in my viewpoint, in some cases, it's very necessary. But having done litigation, I've identified things that tend to lead to disputes, right? And so if I'm drafting up an agreement or just employment contracts or just things in general, as far as the formation of a company, and if there's multiple partners involved, like what are some of the pitfalls? And I have those conversations up front. I kind of force my clients to take the rose-colored glasses off
Right.
and say, look, I understand that this is fresh and maybe your business partner is someone you've known since the fifth grade, but like you can trust them 100%. Like you should trust who you do business with, but you should also just make sure that things are in place before any issues arise, because then it just makes it easier to resolve any disputes. But, you know, if nothing's in place and there's a lot of money at stake, it makes it harder. You know, sometimes it could be like, hey, well, maybe I did more legwork, you know, or hey, yeah, but I gave all the money up front. I have more at risk here. And, you know, it's just easy to just kind of justify you know, the disputes. But if you can just address that at the beginning, then you could save a lot of headache. And so I think that, you know, just in my past experiences and how I've taken my practice to where it is now, that I just think that, you know, for the most part, I educate you. I explain the pitfalls, not that they all happen, but you know, that they're possibilities. And if we do A, B, and C, we can minimize risk. You know, certainly you can't eliminate it, right? Things happen. But so I just think that the way that I approach my cases is probably how it's been impacted the most.
No, I love that because again, you can kind of because if you're all your experience, how long you been doing this again? 14 years?
Um, yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Yeah. You start to see patterns of like keep of the same things going wrong. So you can kind of make sure that one, it's written in an agreement or contract, and then two, it's explained to both sides, you know, or to them, you know, that hey, this is where you've seen things go wrong before, so let's make sure we include this, and everybody knows, you know, what it is, so that when things
Right.
if things went wrong, here's how both sides agree that things are going to go forward.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also, I've on the litigation part, I don't know who I've just heard other attorneys go, oh, I don't do any of that litigation stuff. So what? Give me an example of again. That makes me think, what are they going to pot it off to someone else that doesn't know? You know what's going on? I don't know. Like I said, but what? So what? Give me one instance that, or a common instance that you might have to go to litigate for a client.
So I mean, sometimes it's dictated by the other side, right? Um, I always feel like there's a deal to be had, right? And it's just a matter of bringing the two parties together. And sometimes you just can't do that. And in those instances, it's just you're stuck in a situation where you have to move forward. And so, you know, I always explain it being a necessary evil. There's a lot of gamesmanship that goes into litigation. Sometimes, you know, party has to feel like they've done their very best to you know, try to win. But you know, they usually get about $10,000-15,000 spent into legal fees and realize, hey, we're still not even anywhere near trial, and I've already spent this much money. That usually softens them up a bit to come to the table. But yeah, so sometimes it just how things shake out, then they make it necessary. But yeah, I mean that's just kind of my experience, anyhow.
No, no, I love that. Like I said, because it's something that it again, it's that you're there for the full cycle. You know, when things go right, I'm right there with you still. See, we did it right,
Yep.
or if something wheels fall off and some partner goes off and off, you know, into the weeds with that. No, that's awesome. That helps me too better understand that too, because like I said, I've heard you mention before, and I'm like, huh. And I know I heard at least one attorney say they don't like litigation. Well, no one likes it, but they didn't do it, litigation. I was like,
Right.
well, I was like, huh. Um, so what's a defining characteristic about you, you think,
Um,
that makes you stand out?
I feel like I've kind of touched on it already a little bit. Just the fact that I like to educate my clients. You know, I think we get pretty busy as attorneys, and so sometimes it's easy just to start doing, right? Like,
Yeah,
hey,
right,
you
right.
wanted this outcome, let me do my job and just stay out of the way, type of thing. But I like to educate throughout the process, um, because again, it's their case that I just happen to be helping with, right? And so they need to know why I'm doing, you know, this strategy for, you know, for example. But also, I think one of the biggest complaints that people have about their attorney is, hey, you know, and we've had conversations about this too, but it's like, I can't get a hold of them, right?
Yep.
I call and I don't get a call back. I email and I don't get an email back. Or by the time I do, it's like opportunity's gone, or yeah, like, and so I really and sometimes to a fault, I really strive to return emails and call same day. Um, you know,
That's
certainly
awesome.
within, you know, 24 hours. Adds to the stress level sometimes, but but again, I just feel like clients really appreciate the open communication, and so that's what I strive for.
No, I love that. No, no, I love it because like I said, um, uh, accountants, attorneys, that's talk about patterns. Is you hear people will say, well, I can't get them return my phone calls. Well, that's something pretty simple. Now, if
Right.
they want to return in an hour, that's being, you know, unrealistic. But you know, someone you call someone during the week and they don't call you, call the next week, or you have to call them back to get them to call you back. You know, that's just no. That again, because I've heard that so many times. That's something really major. Is one that you actually are punctual about getting back to people, and then two, I just love the education thing because I think sometimes you can't over-educate someone enough, especially if they legal. You know, that's not that's not my world, the legal world, or one of your clients. You know, that's your world. Your job is to help
Right.
me. You know, so you got to help me educate why we're doing stuff. You know, I didn't go to how many years of law school to understand all that stuff. That's why I hire you.
Exactly right. But I also find that the more I kind of go into the details, right, it actually helps flesh out comments that
Yep.
maybe tips me off to something that, hey, if I didn't get into this level of detail, I wasn't ever going to get that information out of you. But now that you have brought it up, it quite possibly can change the analysis of the case. Um, you know, and you know, if nothing else, it leads to more questions.
Yep.
And so I just feel like it's just more, it leads to a better understanding, as opposed to, you know, if you keep everything on the surface, then you know, you can miss something. And if you get about
Critical thing. Critical thing.
exactly critical things, absolutely. And so yeah, I just find overall it's just beneficial for both sides.
No, I love that. I love that. So, you know, how now all kind of wrapping all this together, how's this just help you be a better attorney for your clients?
So, I mean, I think it's just more so just what drives me.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so, you know, the fact that I bring personal experience into it, like I mentioned with my dad, it just, again, it really shapes how I do my job. And just like anyone else, I meet with someone, if I'm not their type of attorney, like I'm not offended if they go somewhere else. It's just, it's got to be a good fit. It's got to be a good fit for me. It's got to be a good fit for the client. And I've had the client in the past say like, hey, that's great. Like you really educated me on this, but I just wanted someone to tell me what I needed to do. I just wanted to be told.
Yeah.
And I guess I didn't do that enough. And so, they went on to another attorney, which again is fine. There's plenty of work to go around. But again, the reality is that, with each case I've handled in the past, with each experience I've handled in litigation or whatever the case may be, that's how I am here today. And it's how I approach my cases because of it. And for the most part, clients like that. So it's what I'm going to continue doing.
No, I love that because um, again, um, that those same type of clients that are going, hey, just tell me what to do, are the ones that something will go wrong down the way and go, why didn't you tell me?
There is always that.
So maybe you don't want them as a client, because it's like there's a reason why you need them to listen to some things so that if something, it just helps educate them on why you're doing stuff. And then if you have to do something down the road, why you're doing that too. So no, I love all that. So, and also the fact that your firm keeps growing, that shows you that, you guys are doing a lot right. Um, so what's something that, um, you maybe you do for your clients that they wouldn't know that you do for
Well, I think the big thing is number one, you don't know what you don't know, right?
them? Right.
And so I always try to kind of look at it from more of a holistic point of view. So, they may come to me and say, hey, I want to form a company. Okay, easy enough. Like we can do that, right? But then just by asking more questions, getting into the weeds, we may find out like, hey, not only do you need to form this, company, but, maybe it's a good idea that as you move forward, you need these types of contracts. You provide a service for your clientele, like let's get the contracts involved and you can always just get them to think one step beyond what's right in front of them, because sometimes as a business owner, there's a lot to do. So it's very easy just to take it like, hey, what's right in front of me right now that has to get done? And you just kind of go from one fire to the next, but you aren't thinking about what's in, what's around the corner. And so, I try to get them to think of like, hey, big picture, like I'm not just gonna, register your company, but I'm also gonna talk about what you can documents you have in place to protect yourself. Um, sometimes you do a service for a client and that client doesn't pay, now what?
Yeah.
If you don't have that written agreement, now you're stuck like with a he said, she said type, scenario. So there's always that, just being able to just kind of explain like, hey, here's where you're at and here's what you're doing now, but have you considered this? So it's just pointing things out to them that they wouldn't otherwise know about. But I would also say another thing is that um, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of different scenarios. I can identify like tax issues or
Uh-huh.
employment issues or, just different issues that might arise. But that doesn't mean that I'm a know-it-all, that I can do everything for a client as like a one-stop shop. So really throughout my career, I've always, worked with other professionals, accountants, tax professionals, wealth advisors, business advisors. And so, I always just say, hey, look, I don't know the answer, and I have no problem telling you that. I can look it up, I could do research, and I can guide you, and I can identify that this was an issue. But, I haven't been through your books. Um, I don't know what would be a better strategy for tax savings. But I've worked with these tax professionals. Let me give you 3 or 4, referrals. You can go meet with them. You can determine which one is a good fit for you and your company, and let them, as the professionals, tell you what the tax benefits are. And to that extent, it's just more of a matter of let's build up a team around you so that you can be taken care of.
No, I love that because, again, both sides, like accountancy, for example, something that they don't have a tax professional help them out, might affect, a bunch of money that they do, you know what I mean, and vice versa. So no, that's great you bring those in because, you can do all you can do, but if at the end of the day you're there to protect them and they're doing a bunch of not smart things with their money, the CPA could say, don't do that, or do that before, spend $1 million for the end of the year. You have to pay all the taxes on it or something like that.
Right.
So no, I love that you bring in other professionals. So no, this has been great again, Mike. I really appreciate it. I just love, like I said, I love a lot about your whole philosophy. Just about, you're there to serve the people. And I love your origin story about your dad, because that's something that kind of anchors you, that, you saw it firsthand, that, somebody that was a good person, but doesn't set things up, and the best of people, things can go wrong. And
100%.
they still, like you said, nothing's for sure. You're trying to minimize your risk, and if you don't have anything set up, boy, you're setting yourself up for some high, like a high chance something's going to go wrong.
Right.
And then like you mentioned on the last podcast too, is that it's just a lot less expensive to have you set it up front and the right way, and then then if something goes wrong, it might cost money, but certainly not as much as if they had nothing set up.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, this has been great. What if someone wanted to reach out to you, and I'll have all of your contact information in the show notes, but what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just call my office directly. We can get you set up with a consultation. Yeah, the main number is 208-904-4444. Yeah, just give us a call.
You're in the Meridian office, correct?
That is correct. So yeah, that's my primary number. But if you're in the other areas, feel free to look us up. You can find our website. But yeah, just give our office a call and we'll get you taken care of.
I'll put that in the show notes so they can see if they have other places, or maybe they're here plus have other locations, but they can talk to you about that. So, well, perfect, Mike. I appreciate it. This has been another episode of Treasure Valley NA Quick Tips, and I appreciate it. And thanks again, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Scott.